Commander Elias Ward sat quietly in the pilot's chair of his rescue ship Starfire. He had seen many strange things in his years working for the Terran Search and Rescue Corps. But this signal, this lonely, flickering emergency beacon, felt different. It came from the shattered remains of a transport ship, floating near the broken moon of Velitharth 4. The ship was Soriani. Elias knew of the Soriani people. They were peaceful, quiet, and soft-spoken. They had only recently joined the Galactic Compact. They had no enemies, no weapons, no reason to be attacked, yet here it was, a broken ship spinning in the dark. Elias carefully brought Starfire close and locked onto the wreckage with magnetic clamps. He suited up and stepped through the airlock. Inside, it was cold and silent. The lights flickered. Wires hung like vines from the ceiling. A fire had burned through one side of the ship, and debris floated everywhere. He moved slowly, checking for signs of life. "Life form detected," said his suit's AI. "Weak signal." Near the rear cabin, Elias moved quickly now, pushing aside burned panels and drifting through broken doors. In the rear cabin, he found her, a small figure curled beneath a metal beam. A girl, no older than 8 if he guessed right. Her skin was soft gray, glowing faintly blue in the shadows. Her large, dark eyes were open but dim with fear. She was shaking. Her small hands held a glowing sphere close to her chest. A family memory orb, Elias realized. She must have held it the whole time, even through the crash. He knelt down and spoke gently. "It's okay. I'm here to help. My name is Elias. I'm a rescuer." The girl blinked slowly. Her voice was soft, almost like a whisper in the wind. "You are human?" "Yes, and I'm going to get you out of here." She looked at him for a long time. Then, in a voice full of sadness and hope, she asked, "Will you protect me like my father?" Elias froze for a moment. Something about that question hit him hard. He had lost people too, family, friends. He knew what it meant to ask that question, to hope someone would stand by you no matter what. He reached out his hand. "I will," he said. She took his hand. Elias carried her gently back to Starfire and laid her in the medbay. His AI began scans and treatment. The girl was tired, but safe for now. Her name, she told him, was Ari. Her father had been the captain of the ship. "What happened, Ari?" he asked. She shook her head slowly. "Bad people. They wanted something from my father. He told me to hide. Then the ship broke. I waited. I waited a long time." "You're safe now," Elias said again. But inside, he wasn't so sure. As Starfire pulled away from the wreckage, Elias sent a report to command. Standard protocol. But something strange happened. His message bounced back with a delay, then a warning flashed on his screen. "Unauthorized contact rerouting." Elias frowned. The signal wasn't jammed, but someone was watching, listening. That wasn't normal. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up movement. 2 small crafts, unknown type, approaching fast. No ID signals, no reply to hails. Elias looked at Ari, who was resting quietly now. He tightened his grip on the controls. They weren't alone. He brought the Starfire into evasive mode. The small crafts opened fire without warning. Bright flashes lit up the blackness of space. Elias dodged left, then right, pushing the engines, harder than usual. "These aren't pirates," he muttered. "They're hunters." He fired a decoy drone and dropped into a nearby asteroid field. The enemy ships followed, but not well. One crashed into a rock. The other was hit by debris and fell back. Elias made it out the other side, engines smoking but working. He didn't slow down. Inside, Ari sat up weakly. "They don't want me to live," she said softly. Elias turned to her. "Why would anyone want to harm a child?" She looked down. Her small fingers tightened around the glowing memory orb. "My father knew something they didn't want him to tell. He said, if anything happened, I must find someone to protect me. Someone who would not leave. And that's why you asked me?" She nodded. Elias looked at the stars ahead. Something bigger was happening here. A mystery. A threat. And now he was part of it. He could have walked away. But he didn't. Commander Elias Ward didn't sleep much after the attack. The little alien, girl Ari, was resting in the medbay, still holding her memory orb close. Elias sat in the cockpit of the Starfire, watching the stars pass by. Something wasn't right. He had been in space long enough to know when a situation smelled bad. 2 ships with no ID, a message from command being blocked, a diplomatic transport ship attacked for no reason. None of it made sense. Elias checked his ship's route. He had planned to return to the nearest Terran base, but now he hesitated. What if whoever attacked the ship had contacts in Terran space? What if someone inside the system didn't want Ari to reach safety? He changed course, quietly. Instead of going home, he turned toward an old trading hub in the Zaro Belt. It wasn't a nice place, more of a gathering point for smugglers, traders, and travelers who didn't want to be found. But Elias had an old friend there, someone who knew how to stay hidden. As the Starfire approached the asteroid-filled belt, Elias powered down his signal beacon and used manual controls to blend in. Around him, old mining rigs and cargo haulers drifted like ghosts. The Zaro hub floated inside a hollowed-out rock, lights flickering across its surface like fireflies. Inside, it was noisy, hot, and crowded. Elias carried Ari in his arms through the main corridor. Her hood was up. She looked small and tired, her big eyes watching everything. They met Rollo inside a dusty old repair bay. Rollo was human, wide as a cargo crate, with mechanical arms, and a loud laugh. Elias Ward? Still flying that old rust bucket? Rollo grinned. Then his eyes landed on Ari. He raised an eyebrow. Who's the kid? She's important, Elias said. And in danger. Rollo's smile faded. He nodded and locked the door behind them. Inside the small workshop, Elias explained everything. How he found Ari, the attack, and the strange warning messages. Rollo listened quietly, then leaned back and scratched his head. If someone attacked a Soriani diplomatic ship, it wasn't pirates. That kind of move is political. Deep politics. She says her father was carrying something secret, Elias said. She doesn't know what, but someone wanted it enough to kill for it. Rollo got up and walked to a locked cabinet. He pulled out a small black box and plugged it into the ship's data core. Let's see what they were carrying. A few minutes later, a screen lit up with ship logs. Most were normal. Supply lists, travel plans, diplomatic messages. But one file was marked with a strange symbol Elias didn't recognize. Encrypted, Rollo said, and not in any known Soriani code. Can you open it? I can try. While Rollo worked, Elias sat beside Ari. She looked up at him. I'm scared. I know, he said gently, but you're not alone. I miss my father, she whispered. I know that too. She leaned her head on his shoulder. For a moment it felt quiet again. Then Rollo's voice broke the silence. Got it. The screen showed a short message. A recorded voice, deep and calm. Ari's father. If you're hearing this, it means I have failed. The information I carried is dangerous but true. A powerful faction within the compact has been hiding the truth about the Soriani, about our history, and about a weapon once used in the Great Silence War. They plan to use it again. The message ended. Elias stared at the screen. A weapon? Maybe something biological or psychic, Rollo guessed. The Soriani have deep memory. Some say they were linked to the lost Empyrean race. Maybe this weapon is tied to that. And Ari? She might be the key, Rollo said quietly. Her father didn't just hide information, he hid her. Just then an alarm went off. Rollo's eyes widened. They found you. Elias jumped to his feet. How? I turned off everything. They must have tracked your quantum wake. Only someone with serious tech could do that. A ship outside opened fire. Boom. The workshop shook. Ari screamed. Elias grabbed her hand. To the ship! Now! Rollo threw open a back hatch. Go! I'll slow them down! Elias hesitated, but Rollo pushed him. Go, you stubborn pilot! I'll be fine! With Ari held close, Elias sprinted back to the Starfire. Outside, blaster fire lit up the dock. A dark ship hovered above, sleek, black, and silent. No markings. Elias jumped into the pilot's chair. Hold on, he shouted as the engines roared. He flew straight through the cargo bay door, dodging fire. Rollo's workshop exploded behind them, covering their escape with smoke and debris. Ari clung to Elias as the Starfire sped through the asteroid belt. We can't go to Terran space, he said. Not yet, we need an... Swears. Ari looked up. What will we do? Elias stared ahead. We'll find out what your father died for, and we'll make sure no one uses that weapon again. She nodded. In her small hand, the memory orb glowed softly, like a quiet star in the dark. The Starfire drifted silently through deep space. Lights inside were dim. Commander Elias Ward sat at the control panel, tired but focused. Ari, the little alien girl, slept in the seat beside him, holding her memory orb close like a blanket. They had escaped the Zaro belt, but not without cost. Rollo, Elias's old friend, was gone, his workshop destroyed. And now, they were on the run, not just from criminals but from powerful people who wanted to hide a dark secret. Elias looked at the message from Ari's father again. A warning about a hidden weapon. A secret some leaders in the Galactic Compact didn't want exposed, and Ari, this small, quiet girl, was somehow connected to it all. He sighed and sent a secure message to an old contact in the Compact, Counselor Marine Vell, a Soriani diplomat who once worked for peace. She was one of the few Elias still trusted. He didn't say everything in the message, only that he had rescued a child survivor and needed safe passage to the neutral station on Alaris Prime. She replied quickly, "Come, I'll be waiting." 2 days later. The Starfire landed quietly on Alaris Prime. The space station was large and peaceful, floating near a calm blue planet. Inside, it looked more like a garden than a government center. Trees lined the halls, and soft music played, in the air. Counselor Vell met them at the docking bay. She was tall, with smooth silver skin and long robes. When she saw Ari, her eyes filled with sadness and surprise. "I know this child," she said softly. Her father spoke of her often. "He trusted me." Elias gave a small nod. "She trusts you too, I hope." Counselor Vell led them to a private chamber where they could talk safely. Ari sat quietly while the adults spoke. Elias explained everything: the wrecked ship, the message, the attacks, and the weapon. Vell looked worried. "Many in the Compact have become greedy. Power has blinded them, but I didn't know it had gone this far." "What is this weapon?" Elias asked. "Why are they so afraid?" Counselor Vell stood and walked to a glowing map on the wall. She pointed to a distant part of the galaxy. Long ago, before the Compact was formed, a race called the Empyreans ruled. They were wise but also dangerous. They created weapons using thought, emotion, even memory. These weapons didn't destroy planets, they changed minds. Entire worlds would forget who they were, what they believed. Elias frowned. "Mind weapons?" Vell nodded. One of those weapons was hidden and its location was erased from all records, but some believed the Soriani carried part of that knowledge in their genes, in their dreams, their memories. Elias looked at Ari. "You mean she carries it?" "Maybe not the weapon itself," Vell said, "but a key, a path. Her father must have discovered something, and those who want the weapon want her." At that moment, Ari spoke. "I see things sometimes, when I sleep. Old lights, voices I don't understand. My father said it was special. He told me to keep it safe." She held up the memory orb. Counselor Vell stepped closer and gently touched the orb. It glowed brighter than before. "She's awakening," Vell whispered. Her mind is starting to remember what even the stars have forgotten. Just then, alarms blared through the station. Unmarked ship approaching. Weapons active. Elias stood up quickly. They found us again. Vel looked at him. You need to go. Now. I'll stall them. I can't leave you. You can, and you must, she said firmly. I'll erase the records of your visit. Head to the outer colonies. There's an old observatory on Myro 7. The Empyreans once studied there. Maybe the answers are waiting. Elias grabbed Ari's hand. Let's go. As they ran back to the Starfire, Ari looked up at Elias. Why do they want the weapon? Because they want control, Elias said. And because they're afraid of truth. But truth isn't a weapon. No, Elias said. But to people who lie, truth is the most dangerous thing. Later that night, on the ship, Ari couldn't sleep. She sat beside Elias in the cockpit. Why are you helping me? She asked softly. Elias looked at her, surprised by the question. Because you asked me, he said. You asked if I would protect you, and I said yes. She smiled a little. You keep your promise. He smiled too. Always. Out the window, stars stretched into forever, and somewhere in that darkness secrets waited to be found. The Starfire flew fast toward Earth, leaving behind the quiet stars of the outer colonies. Elias sat in the pilot's seat, Ari beside him, staring out at the blue planet growing larger ahead. Earth was home, the place Elias knew best. He hoped it would be a safe refuge for Ari, but he also knew the dangers were closer than ever. The Terran Intelligence Division was watching all unusual arrivals, especially those connected to alien secrets. They landed near the Rocky Mountains, in an old military base now used for secret research. Elias chose this place because it was hidden and because he remembered it from years ago, an abandoned survival training center. Inside the base, the air was cool and quiet. Elias helped Ari out of the ship. She looked around, curious but careful. This place is big, she said. Softly, it's safe, Elias promised. For now. He led her through long hallways and dusty rooms, showing her where she could rest. Then he started to prepare the base for their stay, fixing power, checking communications, and sealing doors. Days passed quietly. Elias taught Ari simple human things, how to make fire, how to move quietly in the woods, and how to read old maps. She loved to watch snow fall and laughed when Elias threw a snowball at her. Ari shared stories of her home world, of bright stars and gentle rivers and songs her mother used to sing. Elias listened, feeling a strange warmth he hadn't known in years, but peace was fragile. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Elias checked the base's external sensors. His face grew serious. Something is coming, he said. Before he could explain, the base's doors shook under a heavy blast. Get down, Elias shouted, pulling Ari behind a metal crate. Outside, a squad of soldiers in dark armor forced their way in. Their leader stepped forward, a Terran intelligence officer Elias had met before. Cold, sharp, and full of questions. We have orders to take the child into custody, the officer said. She is a key to classified information. You are obstructing justice. Elias stood tall, placing himself between Ari and the soldiers. This child is under my protection, he said firmly. No one takes her without my permission. The officer sneered. You're out of your depth, Commander. Stand down. Elias shook his head. Not this time. Suddenly, Ari stepped forward, her small voice clear. Please don't fight. I don't want to hurt anyone. Elias looked at her, surprised by her calm. The officer smirked. You see, she knows the truth. Come with us. Ari's eyes glowed faintly blue, and for a moment a strange silence filled the room. Then she said quietly, I will not go. The officer hesitated. Elias took the chance. Back off, he warned. The soldiers exchanged looks but held their ground. The standoff lasted tense moments, broken only when an emergency alarm blared. Intruders detected outside the base, a voice announced. Outside, unknown ships hovered above the mountaintops. Elias realized they had more enemies than just soldiers on the ground. We can't stay, Elias said quickly. We must leave now. He grabbed Ari's hand, leading her back to the starfire. The soldiers followed, but Rollo's old friend, now hiding in the shadows, appeared and threw a smoke grenade, blocking their view. As the starfire lifted off, Elias glanced down. The soldiers were shouting, but the mountain base was lost to their enemies. Ari looked up at Elias. Why do they want me so badly? Elias sighed. Because you carry hope and fear. You carry the future of many worlds. She nodded slowly. I don't want to run anymore. Elias smiled gently. Neither do I. Back in the cockpit, Elias set a course away from Earth. They needed a new plan. Ari pressed the memory orb and a soft light filled the cabin. Maybe the answers are in the stars, she said. Elias agreed. Together they looked ahead, ready to face whatever came next. The starfire raced through space, carrying Elias and Ari farther from Earth and its dangers. The little alien girl looked tired but determined. Elias stared at the stars, thinking about the battle ahead. The news of their escape had spread faster than he expected. Across Terran space, whispers and rumors filled the air. People were divided. Some said Ari was a threat. Others believed she was a symbol of hope. Elias knew one thing clearly. Humanity had to make a choice. At the Terran Council chamber, the greatest leaders gathered. Screens showed the message Elias had sent, a live broadcast from the ship, where he declared his promise to protect Ari. This child asked me, will you protect me like my father? Elias's voice echoed in the chamber. I said yes. Humanity does not abandon those in need. The room was silent. Counselor Harris, a stern man with gray hair, spoke first. Commander Ward has defied direct orders. This child may carry dangerous secrets. We must act to protect Terran interests. But Counselor Jenna, a younger woman with kind eyes, stood. We are better than fear. This girl is innocent. She is a child. We must protect her. She could unite the compact, not destroy it. Debate raged for hours. The council voted narrowly. Humanity would stand with Elias and Ari. Back on the starfire, Elias felt relief. They were no longer alone. Messages from unexpected allies arrived. Scientists, diplomats, even soldiers offering help. Many had been watching the same dark forces trying to silence Ari. Elias gathered a small team. Dr. Lena, a Terran scientist skilled in alien biology. Captain Marks, a veteran pilot, and Vera, a diplomat from the Andari race known for their wisdom. Together, they planned their journey to the Galactic Tribunal, where Ari's story could be told, and her safety assured. During the trip, Elias watched Ari grow stronger. Her strange abilities became clearer. She could sense emotions, fear, hope, anger. Once she stopped an argument on the ship before it even started, calming everyone with a gentle voice. One evening, Ari asked Elias, "Will the tribunal believe me?" Elias smiled. "They have to. This is your chance to change everything." She nodded, but looked worried. "I don't want to be a weapon." "You're not," Elias said firmly. "You're a key to peace." As they neared the tribunal, Elias prepared for the worst. Dark ships still hunted them, shadows in space. The tribunal was a massive station, shining bright in the darkness. It belonged to the Galactic Compact, a place where many worlds came together to solve problems. The starfire docked, and the team walked through tall halls filled with different races, some curious, some cautious. Counselor Marine Vell waited for them. She smiled warmly. "Welcome back," she said. "The compact needs your voice." In the great chamber, Elias stood beside Ari and the team. The leaders of many worlds listened as Ari told her story. Her voice was small but strong. She spoke of her father, the hidden weapon, and the threat that had chased her. The chamber was quiet. Then questions came from all sides, some friendly, some harsh. Ari's ability to feel the truth helped her answer honestly. Elias watched as trust grew, but suddenly alarms blared. An attack. Dark ships tried to break into the station. The team jumped into action. Soldiers fought bravely. Elias piloted his ship in defense. Together, the defenders stopped the attack. After the battle, the compact leaders arrested those responsible. The truth about the weapon and the conspiracy was revealed. Ares' bravery and Elias's promise had saved more than just one life. They saved the hope for unity in the galaxy. At last, the tribunal declared Ari under Terran protection and recognized Elias as her guardian. Elias held Ari's hand. "You did it," he said softly. She smiled. "Because you said yes." The great chamber of the Galactic Tribunal was filled with light and shadow. Leaders from many worlds sat in silence as Commander Elias Ward stood beside Ari. The little girl looked brave, but tired. This was their moment, the trial that could change the fate of the galaxy. Elias felt the weight of the room. The tribunal was not just a court. It was a place where truth, power, and justice met. The conspirators who tried to silence Ari would face judgment here. But Elias knew the fight was far from over. The trial began with statements from Elias and Ari. The child told her story clearly, the attack on their ship, her father's secret message, and the danger that followed them. Elias spoke with firm voice. "We stand here to protect a child and the truth she carries. The weapon my friend's father warned about is not a tool of destruction, but a secret meant to be shared. The galaxy deserves to know." Some tribunal members listened closely. Others whispered doubts. Then came the evidence. Scientists presented data on the Empyrean weapon, how it could influence minds but only through deep trust and connection. The danger was real, but so was the hope that it could bring peace if used wisely. Suddenly, the doors of the chamber burst open. Masked figures rushed inside. It was an assassination attempt. Gunfire echoed. The tribunal's guards moved quickly, shielding leaders and citizens. Elias grabbed Ari's hand and pulled her down behind a large table. The attackers were not ordinary soldiers. Their armor shimmered with strange energy. They fired blasts designed to confuse and scare. But Ari did something no one expected. She closed her eyes and reached out with her mind. A soft blue light surrounded her, and the attackers stopped mid-step, their weapons dropping. The chamber grew quiet. Ari opened her eyes. "No more violence," she said firmly. "We must talk." The attackers, stunned and peaceful, were captured. Their leader was unmasked, a high-ranking official from the very faction that had tried to hide the truth. Elias stepped forward. "This conspiracy ends now." The tribunal ordered an immediate investigation. Secrets that had been buried for years came to light. Days later, the tribunal announced its decision. Ari would remain under Terran guardianship, and Elias would be her protector. The hidden weapon would be studied openly, to be used only for peace and healing. Ari smiled, her eyes shining with hope. Elias felt a deep pride. This was more than victory. It was a new beginning. As the trial closed, Elias and Ari looked out at the stars beyond the windows. "We did it," Elias said softly. Ari nodded. "Because you said yes." And in that moment, the galaxy felt a little safer, a little brighter. The trial had ended and the Galactic Tribunal had spoken. Ari was safe under Terran protection, and Elias was her guardian. But this was only the beginning of a new journey, one full of hope, challenges, and promise. Elias and Ari left the tribunal station, their ship gliding through the stars. The galaxy was changing around them. Worlds once divided were beginning to listen. Old fears were slowly giving way to hope. Ari sat beside Elias in the cockpit, her small hand resting in his. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. Elias smiled. "Now we help rebuild. We bring peace where there was fear. And we make sure no one forgets the truth." She looked out at the stars, bright and endless. "I want to visit my home one day." "You will," Elias promised. "We'll go together." Over the next months, Elias, Ari, and their small team traveled to planets torn by conflict and mistrust. They spoke at councils, shared stories of courage, and showed what true protection meant. On a planet scarred by war, Ari sang the songs of her people. Her voice was soft but strong, reminding everyone of beauty, even in darkness. Elias watched as old enemies shook hands. The little girl who had once been afraid was now a symbol of unity. One evening, as they rested on a quiet world, Ari and Elias sat beneath the stars. "Do you ever wish things were different?" Ari asked. "Sometimes," Elias admitted. "But I believe every choice we make brings us closer to who we want to be," she nodded. "I'm glad you said yes." "So am I." Back on Earth, news of their journey inspired many. People who once feared the unknown now looked to the stars with hope. Elias received messages from old friends and new allies, all willing to stand together. Humanity was no longer just survivors. They were protectors, fighters for truth, guardians of peace. Years passed. Ari grew strong and wise, learning from many worlds. She never forgot her father's courage or Elias's promise. One day, standing before a gathering of leaders from across the galaxy, Ari spoke. "We are not defined by our fears, but by our choices. Together, we can build a future where all children are safe, where no one is left behind." The crowd cheered. Elias smiled from the back. He remembered the day she asked him, "Will you protect me like my father?" And he knew that answer had changed everything.